man. You need to buy yourself a gun. What? Gun? What? Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Check for the cops in riot gear. Gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta drag them through the streets.
And they are rioting in the streets. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. This is PrimerTime on UCY.TV. We are live. My name is Froggy.
Oh, Froggy, how you doing? It's Nick.
What's going on, man? It's good to hear you again. It's good to be back on air. We had a couple, 2 weeks of life getting in the way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I felt like I had some teeth falling out of my head. And so, like the good guy that I am, against my better judgment, I went to the dentist and found out that I had worn away about 90% of the tooth, my second molar on both sides of my lower jaw.
That's not fun, and I'm going to tell you that they discovered that because you have good health care that will pay for it. If you had shitty health care, you would still have bad teeth.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the things that I think that was just a byproduct of daily stress, because unlike most Americans, when things stress me out, I don't tend to yell and scream. I just clench my teeth. And apparently I've got such a bite force that I was just destroying my teeth.
That's not good. You're going to have to learn how to deal with that stress in another manner.
Yeah, usually that involves going to the range and putting some rounds down.
Have you had a chance to put any rounds down range?
Unfortunately, no. Actually, the weather hasn't been cooperating out here. We've been going about every 2 days with a little bit of sunshine, and then all of a sudden we get about 3-4 days of gray and mixed rain. So we actually had hail 3 days ago.
We had some hail the other day as well. And in certain areas, the hail was as big as soccer balls. So,
yeah.
Shout out to the people in Stephenville. And if you need a hail-damaged car, there's a Ford dealership up there pushing them out the door right now.
Awesome. So, yeah, actually, I did end up getting a chance to reintroduce a dental night guard, and ended up getting a crown. So for anybody that's out there that's had a crown, that's not fun, man. I kind of hope to stay away from that in the future.
I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of going to the dentist myself.
Yeah. So
that always seems to cause me a bunch of pain.
So I sounded like I sounded even more like a retard than I normally do. So that's why I wasn't able to do the show 2 weeks ago. And there was no way I could talk and be intelligible. So.
Well, last week I had my own personal issue. I was sicker than a dog. I had 4 days of good, horrible fever, and I was pretty sick. So I don't know if you can tell, my voice is off a tad, and But we're here and we are live.
Yeah, that is it. It's good to be live again. We talk about life getting in the way, and this is kind of one of those rare opportunities where I get a chance to sit back for an hour, talk to my brother, and talk about things that we tend to see eye to eye with, and some things we don't. But we always get to talk about guns, firearms, and anything that goes boom.
Speaking of which, I got a chance to go out and shoot a little bit this week. I happened to be able to go out and fire the SIG 938.
Ooh, how did that go?
Okay, let's talk about the SIG 938 real quick. It's a 9mm single stack ultra subcompact pistol. It is very, very small. Single action, much like the Browning High Power or the Colt 1911. I personally think it's much more like a Browning High Power in its design than a Colt 1911. It went wonderfully. This thing is flawless. I went through 10 magazines and I had no problems at all. The takedown of the pistol is very simple, and the cleaning is very simple, and the reassembly takes a little bit of looking at, but once you got it, you're solid. I'm very, very impressed with it. I did not think the recoil was anything to be scared of because, well, it is a metal framed and almost all metal pistol. It does have a polymer mainspring housing, but that's a very small part. I don't even think that would add maybe 10 grams to the weight of the pistol. It's decent weight, I think, keeps the recoil down, and I do not think the report was anything obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's a small pistol, so it will be loud.
Yeah, is it ported towards the end of the barrel or no?
No, sir, it is not ported. It is just a plain standard barrel on it, and it does have tritium night sights on it, and they worked very well in the low light conditions that I did get a chance to shoot in. We went shooting from about, I'd say 6:30 to about 7:30, and sun was starting to go down, and those sights worked out very well. And for being such a small pistol with such a small bore axis, it was amazingly accurate. The bullets were going where I was putting the sights.
Oh, that's all you can ask for.
To be honest with you, that's it. That's it. So I think that's going to find a permanent place in my rotation.
So with that now taking a permanent spot on your side, what are you going to divest of to make room?
Honestly, I'm going to divest of a Ruger LC9, and it's the first, not necessarily the first generation of it. I guess you could consider it the first generation, but it's not in the first 3 months production, which you and I both know, and a good number of our listeners know, that the smart man does not buy anything brand new from Ruger.
That is correct.
And that's not to down talk Ruger. Ruger is a fine company. They make excellent products. They have wonderful customer service. Their products are 99% of the time they are high quality and they will last for forever. But save yourself some trouble and do not be the beta tester.
Yeah, let somebody else pay for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, actually, Michael,
So I'll probably end up.
I was going to say I didn't get a chance to do any shooting per se, but I actually did have some purchases arrive in the last week and a half, and I wanted to take a second to talk about those.
Let's do it.
All right, so first things first, I've been talking about the continuous project for the 300 Blackout build. Received pretty much all parts are in. Waiting on a friend of mine here local to go over and use some of the tools at his house. He's got a workbench. He's got all the necessary tools to go ahead and put stuff together. I just don't have that here where I'm at. So he's been out of the area, but we should have a chance to go there in about a week and a half. But what did show up in the mail was pretty interesting for anybody that's out there and has a 300 Blackout, was ammunition from a company called Gemtech. You may also have heard of them called Gemini Tech. They're out of Idaho, and they have on their website the sample packs of different grain 300 blackout rounds in 5-round packs for $3 each. Now there's a 2-pack limit per grain weight, but you can go ahead and get them in the 125, the 147, and then the 220 grain varieties, and that way you can go ahead and save a little bit and do some testing, figure out if that's what you want. The 125 grain bullet is the ballistic tip. That has nozzler ballistic tip bullets, and the 147 grain is full metal jacket. They come with head stamped brass, and with shipping to my door, 20 rounds came out to exactly $20. And for anybody that's seen the price of 300 blackout, that's pretty good.
Yeah, 300 blackout in my area usually runs $1.50 each.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that when you take a look at some of the other stores that are out there, we talk about Palmetto State. They actually have one of their clearance deals or daily deals. It's the Italian Fiocchi, and they have 50 rounds for $30. So that would be equivalent, and it's a 150 grain full metal jacket boat tail bullet, and you're gonna pay whatever it is for the shipping, usually $7 to $8, but you gotta go ahead and find it where you can, and that's one of those things that when you're doing this, you're probably also going to be reloading, and that was some other stuff that I had show up in the mail. Was I had a single stage press arrive, and also went to one of my local gun stores and picked up the ever elusive IMR 4064 powder and 175 grain Sierra Pro Hunter 8mm 323 diameter bullets. So I'm going to go ahead and finish working on a project that I've had for a couple months, which is building a workbench. And now that I've got the table set up, the bench is the next project, and then I will go ahead and start attaching the press to the table by C clamps, so that way it can be mobile. And then I will go ahead and start doing some reloading with the old 8mm Mauser.
That is going to be a very, very handy thing for you. As we have seen, there are pushes to increase the price of the supply of ammunition and pushes to actually decrease the availability of it. So
right. And this
now
is
let me ask you a little bit about your sample packs. You said that these come from Gemtech.
Yes.
Is this the same Gemtech that makes suppressors?
Exactly the same.
So this ammunition would be designed to be used with a suppressor. Is that correct?
Yes, and you can use the lower grain weights, the performance in the suppressed 300 blackout. You'll hear a little bit more. Typically, you'll have the 220 grain bullet that's made to be used in the suppressed version. And realistically, when you have a suppressed 300 blackout and you're firing, all you hear is the bolt going back and forth. You barely hear a retort. I mean, you hear the metallic clang of the bolt in the carrier going back and forth, and that is it. And for folks that like to do, suppress shooting, I've been an advocate of allowing suppressors for hunters specifically, because one of the things that I've actually had to do recently is go back to Germany by way of a friend that's still there, and have him order the metric thread for my muzzle brake, and so I can get a cap and take the muzzle brake off and just go ahead and go back to a regular crown. The noise itself can be extremely damaging to your ears, especially if you make the mistake and shoot without any kind of hearing protection. Suppressors are a good thing, and you got to follow the rules.
All right, now is the majority of Gemtex ammo is in the 300 Blackout? Is the majority of it, or is all of it subsonic?
No. They have equal parts supersonic and subsonic. It's just a matter of what grain weight bullet and what application, whether you want a ballistic tip or whether you want a full metal jacket. Obviously, if you're just going to be punching paper, there's absolutely nothing wrong with full metal jacket. I plan on turning this into a very capable pig/deer gun. So the ballistic tips are perfect for that. We've gone into the past. We've talked about the difference between what a soft point or a lead nose soft point would do versus a ballistic tip, and it just kind of depends on how much penetration you want.
Well, we're probably looking for in a hunting round. We're looking for somewhere in 12 to 16 inches of penetration, I would imagine.
Yeah, depending upon the game that you're going for, anything with a lead nose is probably going to get you that 12-inch to 16-inch penetration. The ballistic tip, when its tests have been conducted on ballistics gel, with fragmentation, you can get that distance, but typically you have what looks like a mini explosion of the round as it penetrates due to the polymer tip pushing into the core of the round, and that aids in expansion. And there are other manufacturers that are out there like Norma. It's a very good ammunition manufacturer from Europe. They have ballistic tip ammunition that retains nearly 100% of its weight, so that basically creates an entire deadly mushroom, 100% energy dump into the target without anything passing through.
And that's exactly what we're looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're doing anything where you're trying to preserve any meat on the game that you're trying to take, and you're doing the ethical headshot, as I've heard it called. That's absolutely what you want. You want something that's going to take the spine, take the base of the head, just instantly kill that animal while preserving everything else below. And when you have lead-nosed ammunition, just like when you have ballistic tip, shot placement is the key. You can hit a deer square in the lungs, and that deer will run forever. You hit a deer right at the base of the spine and the neck, and that deer is not going anywhere.
Now let's talk about that for just a second. You've taken this deer and you've shot it in the lungs, and it continues to run, and it gets another 100 yards, 150 yards away from the point of impact. There's biology involved, which means this deer is now having an adrenaline dump.
That's
all
exactly
its energy is going into making it survive, and adrenaline acts like an acid on the meat. And it does ruin the taste of the meat.
It does, and that's one of the reasons why, if you are hunting or you're trying to take game for food, you definitely want to ensure the quick, clean kill. But then again, the physiology of the animal comes into play. Larger game like larger deer, stags, lung capacity is greater. Heart size is much larger in an elk than in a white-tailed deer. And that heart contains a significant amount of blood that can pump still out oxygenated to the body and will allow the animal to run for a longer distance. Certain game like smaller deer, muntjac, roe deer, they don't have such big organs, and when you shoot them, they tend to drop on sight.
Well, that's part of what we're looking for. We're looking for the quick, clean drop and no further activity from the animal.
Well, and certainly nothing from the big fat hunter who doesn't want to walk a half a mile to find whatever he shot.
I was trying to really dance around that and say that, I don't want to go out there and have to haul a 300-pound deer 100 yards back to, the truck. That's really not my idea of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that when I look at folks in Texas that have a problem with the wild pigs, the feral hogs, if you're actually taking those off your land just to take them off and you don't care about them, well, yeah, that'll do the job. Hitting them just about anywhere with a 30 caliber bullet is going to do the job. But if you're actually interested in harvesting the meat from them, then yeah, you're going to want to go ahead and put them down. That way you can go ahead and get them cleaned up as quick as possible. Because in addition to having contamination from the different hormones like adrenaline and even some of the amino acids that form after any kind of aerobic activity, the length of time that you spend waiting to get that animal opened up and cleaned out and cooling down, that can affect the taste and the quality of the meat right then and there.
This is what people would commonly refer to as a gamey taste to the animal.
Yeah, it can be, and then also it can be from any kind of contamination that the person preparing the game didn't take precautions against. One of the things that's prevalent in a lot of game is E. coli bacteria, and if that gets in there, that's bad juju.
Absolutely. There's also ways to clean this animal. You must be careful to not pierce the bladder or pierce the colon or pierce the stomach.
Right. And that's the thing. Take your time, learn how to properly dress your game, and you're going to have a lot better quality meat come out of it.
And I will be the number one man at your barbecue.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you now, with this 300 blackout, and there are some questions about this round, how would we compare this to a more common American round, say, such as the 30-30?
Okay, so from everything that I'm seeing, and like I said, I haven't physically had a chance to take mine out, so individual performance may vary. Different things come into play, like barrel length translates to muzzle velocity, translates to how something is going to perform in terms of the gas system, because on different 300 blackouts, the gas system is set up to be run at a pistol length versus a carbine length versus a rifle length system. So that's one of the big things that happens. When we talk about something like a 30-30, I would kind of equate it to, this is a 308 caliber bullet that's in the body of a 5.56. So if you can imagine in your mind's eye, the Big Daddy 308 and his little girlfriend, the 5.56, go into the back of the pickup truck, and 9 months later, there's a little baby 308 in a 5.56 body.
Let's name him 300. What a cutie pie.
He's not big, baby. He's my brother.
I like that. So this is where you're headed towards, and we've had this discussion many times. I was initially against the round for you to get it. I believe in ammunition that is readily available in every store.
Right.
And that's not usually one of these things, but you've given me your reasons, and I fully agree with your reasons at this point.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the biggest reasons that I've come up with for this and going and investing in this round is number one, the availability of the ammo may not necessarily be where I want it to be in terms of availability at stores, but for anything that I shoot from the 5.56, I can save that brass and turn it into a 300 blackout. It's minimal preparation. There's a ton of videos out there that show shooters going from 5.56 and creating a 300 blackout round in less than a minute. That's not necessarily something I recommend. They do that just to show the ease of which you can actually take and convert brass, resize it. And they're using some pretty crude methods, I would say. They're using the House of Chinese Tools 3-inch hacksaw, taking that round and then running it through a sizing die, running it to a case length gauge to make sure that it's trimmed. They're repriming it with a small rifle primer, using anywhere between 11 and 13 grains of powder, and then they're filling it with the 308 caliber bullet to top it off. And reloading in a sense it's much more in depth than that. But I'll tell you what, if you can take 5.56 brass, which you would normally either dump at the range or just kind of leave it hanging in the back of your truck to rust, and you can do something with it, well, this is perfect, because you got now a 30 caliber rifle in an AR platform that doesn't lose any functionality and doesn't lose any magazine capacity because of this thing being built off the parent 5.56 or 223 Remington case.
Well, that leaves you with a lot of options right there, and I'm sure at some point you will explore most of them.
Yeah, certainly. And like I said, when this round was being developed, it was to be comparable to the 7.62 by 39 ballistics at longer distance. You're going to have the same amount of foot-pounds of energy uh, at 600 yards in a 300 blackout that you would have at 300 yards in a 5.56. It's a slower, heavier round, but I'll tell you what. Do you want to get hit by Mike Tyson one time, or do you want to get hit by Manny Pacquiao 100 times? You're going to get a beaten either way.
I think that's the truest statement said tonight. Uh, the way I heard that the Pacquiao Mayweather fight, tickets are going for $5,000 a piece.
Wow. I learned everything I needed to know about boxing by watching the HBO specials that were over in 30 minutes back in, or 30 seconds, I should say, back in the late 80s.
I would, I'd have to remember, that Tyson fight that was over in about 11 seconds that I completely missed because I was upstairs getting popcorn to bring down.
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember things getting thrown at the TV.
Right. And I think you'll recall that the price of that pay-per-view was $50 back in the day when $50 meant something.
Right, yeah. $50 was a huge chunk of change back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's changing a little bit.
Yeah, so in addition to getting the ammunition from Gemtech, and like I said, good plug out for those guys. I was able to pick up from the local gun store a digital scale with a pan, so that way I can transfer powder once it's weighed out. Case lubricant, so that way I make sure stuff doesn't get stuck inside my press. And then the Sierra Pro Hunter 323 diameter 175 grain bullets.
And when you're buying the bullets, how many are you buying at one time? And I mean just the projectile.
Right, just the projectile. I bought a pack from Sierra, and it comes in a 100 round pack, and that was $30 compared to what I had.
That's a little pricey.
It is, but you got to remember where I'm at. I'm in enlightened liberal land. So
Well, not only that, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with where you're at because most of these things are being shipped to you. Is that correct?
well, this, like I said, I picked this one up in store, so it's what they had on their shelf.
Okay.
The comparison that I was judging on, which actually spurred my decision to go ahead and make the purchase there in the store versus going ahead and doing it online, was that when I had originally intended to purchase nozzle or ballistic tips, the price online was $26, and then adding in another $7 to $8 shipping was only for 50 rounds. So here I am already at home. I've got about 110 brass cases that are ready to be reloaded, but I can spend $5 more and get a 50 round increment that otherwise I would have been saving a little bit more for in the ballistic tips. And I'll tell you what, like I said, out here I'm much more likely to be able to go after something where I don't necessarily need to shoot it in the back of the ear. I can go ahead and worry about using a good shot to the heart or to the lungs. So.
Well, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that fits your need.
Right, and
everybody's needs are different. I personally don't need a 300 blackout. What I could stand is a very good 30-30 rifle, and that's becoming something that's hard to find now.
It is, and the price for ammo for 30-30 I've actually seen at Walmart has gone up.
Yeah, well, the price on everything at Walmart has gone up.
Right, and actually, we were talking a while back about the 62 grain 5.56, the SS-109 bullets made by ZQI or ZQ1. It's a Turkish company that's actually owned by Turkish folks coming out of Virginia. They actually, I haven't seen the 5.56 on the shelf. I've seen the 7.62 by 5.1 or the 308 Winchester variety. I have not seen the 5.56. So either folks are coming and buying that out like crazy, or Walmart's just not getting them.
I would dare say that people are buying it and stocking it. Um, I've had some experience with ZQI myself. I've used it in 9 millimeter. It's 115 grain full metal jacket, what was commonly referred to as ball ammo, and I've had no problems with it. It has worked wonderfully every time.
Well, that's good
And
to
it's
hear.
priced right. It's priced right.
Well, and that's one of the things that I think you've got to find the nexus between cost and what you're actually getting for your money. You need the cost benefit analysis and just really see what it is. The whole point that revolves around, though, is also having the time to get out to the range and put those holes in that paper.
And really, in the end, that's what it's about, because you can have the greatest, latest, and best, but if you don't know if it works, it's garbage.
Exactly. It won't fit your applications of what you need it for, and you're going to be kind of sucking hind teat, as we say, and it's no good for you.
So let me ask you, what is your on your barrel for your 300? What's your twist rate?
It is a 1 in 8 twist rate, which is pretty consistent with a lot of the AR series, whether it's the 5.56 or the 300 Blackout. And the thing that's different is mine is set up for the pistol length gas tube, and the reason for that is that it actually helps cycle the bolt better in the pistol configuration than it would in the carbine length if it was to be running suppressed. That's not something that I'm either able right now or willing to do, because I want to get it up and functional. But I'll tell you what, if you've seen any of those demonstrations where they actually bring out the suppressors and they put them on there, it's amazing to think that for the loud report that you get on most 30 caliber rifles, that you can get something that is that quiet and still be putting the same diameter hole in a target.
That's pretty much one of our modern innovations that really is something that's kind of nice.
It is.
Looking at towards the modern innovations, we're seeing the FBI is reverting back to the 9 millimeter round after, well, since 1988, when the FBI finally changed to the 40 caliber round. We've seen sort of the demise of that round. It's not necessarily as popular as it once was.
Right, and we talked a while back about the Army looking at trying to divest itself of the Browning, or not the Browning, but the Beretta M9. We got a story in the news 2 days ago that there's a small handgun company that's actually got their name in the running for the modular handgun competition.
And this is a small company, but it's a very history company. They've made some very interesting items throughout their company's history, and this is Tectonics.
That's right. Yeah, anybody that's seen Miami Vice might recognize their wares.
That's right. Sonny Crockett, first season, he had a Bren 10, which was a 1911 style pistol in 10 millimeter, and the next season he was using a Tectonics 45.
There you go. It is the first compact version of the 1911. So take a look at that. Give one up for the small guy trying to hang out there with the big boys. That it's one of the things that I kind of think is, it's great that the Army has told Beretta thanks but no thanks on your offering to give us a new modular handgun. But this is one of those things that I kind of take with a grain of salt, because if I've learned anything about the Army's acquisition program, is that they'll hold a competition and then they'll move the goalposts, or they'll change the location of the finish line mid competition. It did this with the M4.
That's very common.
Yeah, it is, and once again, this is all political at some point, and somewhere down the line, some general officer will need to have a opportunity to work with the company and mysteriously that company will be chosen.
And we saw this when the United States military transitioned from the 1911 45 ACP to the Beretta 92 M9 9 millimeter. That was a completely political decision to retain American air bases in Italy.
Yeah, exactly. You need to take a look and see what's going to be down the road when this competition actually goes on, because for a while there the Army was all set to get the Scar, the Fabrique Nationale Scar. Would have been a nice rifle, but certainly didn't end up that way, and we got X number of years more Colt. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, and I've seen this. Now let me ask you, in reference to exotic rifles, we've got a recent development out of Germany, which now uses, the German military uses the Heckler & Koch G36,
yes,
which is an advanced battle rifle.
Right, and
this is interesting. Go ahead, regale the folks.
So the Heckler & Koch, they call it the G36. This is the battle rifle that has been used and has actually been given to Kurdish forces in Iraq to go against ISIS from the German government. The German defense minister, Ursula von der Leyen, has said that the G36's problems are many, and it is not the solution for a battle rifle for the Bundeswehr, the German army, or the armed forces, I should say.
Let's talk about some of these problems that this rifle has. Number one, it's quite expensive. That's a problem in itself.
Right. Yeah, it is cost prohibitive. There have been problems with the combat optic that's attached to it. There are some. There are some political sensitivities to the types of sites that have anything to do with World War II era battle sites. There's an actual backlash against anything that resembles a Mauser 98 in the scope. So you've got just a little red dot. And having personally fired a G36 and qualifying with it, I was pretty impressed with it. I didn't see any glaring deficiencies. Then again, I didn't have to pay for it and maintain it. I was able to hand it off to the corporal who was running the range and say, "Thank you very much. Here's your firearm back."
Now they've got a problem with heat transfer, and I've noticed in a couple of articles that I've read, a German SWAT team was reporting the polymer handguards were melting.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that has been a concern, especially when it comes to the AR series, is that aluminum plate that's inside handguards. Sometimes those have failed, and soldiers have actually burned their hands while that barrel gets too hot.
Well, this has become an issue in Germany, not only due to the pain that can be afflicted and the lack of confidence that inspires, but there's also a serious problem with heating of the barrel, which leads to a loss of accuracy.
Certainly.
And this has been reported to occur within 60 rounds fired, which is 2 magazines.
Right, and honestly, I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that affects accuracy the most is vibration in the barrel, and when a barrel gets hot, it takes longer for that barrel to come back to its normal resting rate, and you're gonna think you're on target, but you're gonna be wildly off the mark.
And this is something that really is not one of the selling points for a military rifle. And it's sort of a ding on the HK reputation, because they do have an excellent reputation and an excellent track record of bringing out quality products, and this appears to be a dog.
Well, exactly, and when you think about it, HK offered up their 416, which is the piston operated AR platform to replace the M4 carbine. So that's one of the things that is. I would say that this is an anomaly in a sense that you don't expect this kind of problem to come from an HK weapon. But then again, this is a perfect example of what happens when politicians and cost cutters get involved in the design of of an organic service rifle for a nation's military.
Well, let's hope to God that it doesn't happen to you while you're there.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm hoping to be divested myself of said service here in the near future.
You know, I'm hoping that you get divested myself.
Yeah.
I'd really like to just get a phone call from you one morning at 9 o'clock saying I got fired.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That truly is a shame. Now, discussing this modular handgun design that the military is seeking, which they may or may not ever actually get, this almost, by its nature, dictates a polymer pistol. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that they're talking about is that they're wanting to have the frame be Cerakoted as well. So, whatever exposed metal is going to be protected against corrosion. We've seen some of these offerings from some of these companies, and I'll say that they look hideous. Steel and polymer, just to me, they don't look right together. It's like a marriage of sin.
I'm personally not a fan of the two-tone look on a pistol. I really think the new generation of polymer pistols that all have a stainless or a lighter colored alloy slide are quite honestly heinous. They are ugly as dog butt.
And one of the things that I think is going to come into play is that when you're talking about anything modular, you're talking about pieces that can break easily. Anybody that's a service member knows us to be very hard on our equipment, even though we do take good care of it. But we put it through its paces. And I like to tell my soldiers, I say, you know what, when you get a new piece of gear, if you haven't broken it, you haven't used it to its full potential. So, the least opportune time for you to figure out something doesn't work is when you need it the most. So I would,
and that's usually when it pops up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I would rather have I would rather have a system that is tried and true and works, whether it's modular or not, I don't care. But what it's going to come down to is retraining the force on how to use something that is off the top sounding like it's going to be pretty, user intensive to come around with and clean and maintain. And that just, the quality of folks that we're getting into the Army nowadays is not a good idea.
I hate to break it to you. The answer to that question lies in the AK-47, and that is not going to happen.
Oh, certainly not. No, it's the same reason why the U.S. never had any kind of ammunition manufacturers that wanted to load the 8mm in the standard 196 grain configuration, because they didn't want it to rival the 30-06. Why would they do that?
That's very interesting. That's a serious consideration that nobody probably actually looks at.
Yeah, and you take a look at it. We had the comments earlier about the different chamberings of the 300 Blackout, which you can get it in the different grain weights and bullet sizes. You take a look at some of these historic rounds. This is when we were pushing the America First mentality. We wanted people, and we wanted sportsmen and hunters and sport shooters to use 30-06, and we made it in every incarnation that we could think of. We gave it, cantilures to make sure it lined up on the case where you wanted it to. We gave them lead noses. We gave it round noses. We gave it full metal jackets. We gave it boat tail design. Everything we could do to keep that round at the forefront of people's mind. Not to say that it's not superior to the 8mm, but I'll tell you what, the ammo manufacturers in the United States certainly weren't putting that 8mm up to its full potential either. So that's something that when you're looking at different manufacturers, don't be afraid to look at some of these guys like S&B from Czech Republic, or the Italian folks. Look and see what's available. You might be able to find a steal on some of their ammunition.
Well, I'll tell you what is, when it comes to foreign ammo manufacturers, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Fiocchi. I've never fired any Fiocchi ammunition that was substandard or failed on me. Fiocchi ammunition has always been top quality, and I believe it's top quality enough that Tula has actually contracted with Fiocchi to make some ammunition for them. That Fiocchi brands is their own.
Yeah, and you know,
Excuse me, that Tula brands is their own. Excuse me.
okay. Well, I'll tell you what. When I look at it, I was actually in Iraq in 2006 to 2007 for 15 months of my life that I'll never get back. I actually did some dove hunting on the Iraqi base where I was living, and the ammunition that I was using in the shotgun that I was borrowing was Fiocchi. So you know, it's interesting because that's readily available and it does go boom.
And it goes boom, and it is quality ammunition. Now, Fiocchi is an Italian manufacturer. I believe they've got 4 plants throughout Italy. And from my experience, the plant that is in the north of Italy, I believe it's, I can't remember the name of the town that it's sitting in, but that's usually where Fiocchi has their contracts through. If they produce something for like Tula, it comes out of that factory, and it's top-notch stuff. And it's priced right.
Right.
Currently, you can buy Tula Brass Max, which is 115 grain ball, full metal jacket ball ammunition that comes in a polymer can with a positive locking lid, which sort of makes it long-term storage item. And then once you've shot that can is great to dump more 9mm in, or it's awesome for loading up with 22 if you happen to find any of that stuff. I remember that stuff from my childhood.
Yeah. Tell us more bedtime stories.
Let me tell you the story of the 22 long rifle and how we used to buy it for $1 a box.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I personally, I haven't seen anything in my local hardware store where I actually was able to get the 22 long rifle a couple months ago. Have not seen it back there, and you know, in the gun store downtown, it's still the 2-box limit, and they're still $8.99 for 50 rounds.
Well, I've seen it at smaller stores. The gun shops have it. The big box, let's say Walmart, usually doesn't have it. Academy, which is our other big box store here that caters to the sportsman and the sports shooter, will have it, but they're still at the 2-box limit. But they've usually got CCI, which is almost okay. I'd almost take the 2-box limit and visit the store 14 times just to get that CCI. Because CCI 22 long rifle is the utmost. I've got no problem with it.
Wow. So yeah, you know, that's one of the things I think people have been seeing in the news lately is for a while there, you know, the used gun market was pretty hot and heavy, and I think you had some experience at the last gun show that I think we've seen the end of it, haven't we?
I would dare say, the last gun show I went to was actually, I did okay, but it was kind of a fluke, me doing okay. If I wouldn't have made my pre-Sunday sale or my pre-show Sunday sale, I would have sold nothing that weekend.
Wow.
There was not a lot of people that came to it, and there weren't a lot of buyers. There was a lot of value shoppers, and if I would have had a coupon on everything, I probably would have moved it all. But that's not how I operate.
Right, and you know, that's one of the things that I was going to bring up is that even looking online in my local gun trader and also the arms list for my area, I'm starting to see the same ads have been there for about 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and all they're doing is hit to the top.
Right, and I'm seeing that in my local the secondhand retailers, and what I'm also seeing is people trying to upgrade their weapon and dump their lower quality weapon, and let's take for instance a Browning high power. If there's a Browning high power up for sale at a decent price of $700 because it's a little bit expensive, but you're getting a high quality weapon. This will turn somebody's crank. They'll want it, and they will try to trade you their Smith & Wesson SD9VE, which retails for $320 out the door brand new. They will try to trade you that for your Browning High Power. And the answer to that is, I'm sorry, sir, I'm looking for cash.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I was actually kind of looking online again, seeing what shotguns are out there. Because, this being the home of shotguns. We just got done with the spring turkey season. Is getting ready to end up. I think next weekend's the last weekend. And, I'm seeing a lot of Mossberg Model 835s, anywhere from 300 to 350. Everybody wants to sell their Mossberg 930. They want $650 for that.
They want $100 more because they've cleaned it and they're going to charge you for the oil.
That's it. Everything from
Let's talk about something in the shotgun field right now that's sort of pressing. Winchester has announced yet another recall of a shotgun. The Winchester XPS has now been recalled. If you have one, take it back.
Wow.
The damn thing is unsafe. There's several videos out there on YouTube where somebody actually jacks a shell into the action and it discharges.
Wow, is the
No
firing
pressure
pin
on the
stuck
trigger.
forward or what?
It's a poor design. I would assume that the firing pin is stuck forward. There were several videos of guys taking them out of the box, straight out of the box, right out of the store, and taking it out and it doing that. So if you've got a Winchester XPS, take it back and consider your Winchester purchases in the future. They're really, really having problems.
I would say that when you go back into the history and you're looking at the Winchester shotgun, they've really been a distant second in the domestic shotgun market to the Remingtons. They really haven't been able to catch up.
Remington's quality once again has dropped. I personally, if I was going to go out and buy a brand new pump shotgun, I think I'd stay away from a new 870. I think if I was buying a pump, I'd be looking at Mossberg.
Exactly. And that's one of the things with, whether you get the 500, the 500A, or you even go up into the 930s, just depending on
the 590 is the hot shotgun right now.
Yeah. And that's the one that's got the barrel shroud. It's got the larger magazine.
It's got the shoulder thing that goes up.
The shoulder thing that goes up. Oh, it's been a while since I heard that one. But yeah. I think that there is still a good market out there for some of the used shotguns. Rifles, I'm not seeing it. The AR sellers are wanting more than brand new prices for something that they've abused and are going to try and conceal from you. I personally couldn't justify buying an AR from somebody when you can go out and build one yourself and save a significant amount of cash, and especially without ever having to buy something that's already put together and then taking everything apart and then reinvesting more money into that, making it a money pit. I don't see the benefit.
Well, as we've discussed many times before, the AR-15 is a money pit. It's designed to get you to spend more money on more goods for it. Hey, listen, in regards to this Winchester shotgun, I think it's a good time to hit the 4 rules of gun safety.
All right, I was just going to bring that up.
Every firearm is loaded until you visually and physically inspect that it is not loaded. Rule number 2, and this comes in very, very handy with this new recent news, keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction at all times. As I've seen in these videos with this shotgun, all it took was a guy racking around and it went off. That's not safe, and if it wasn't pointed in the right direction, that's a dead kid, sorry. Rule number 3, know what your target is and know what is beyond your target. And the most important rule for everything except the Winchesters, I guess, is keep your booger hook off the bang switch. Do not place your finger on the trigger until you are ready to discharge that firearm. So,
yeah, fortunately, I haven't heard the odd, stupid gun owner story about negligent discharges. It's been a couple weeks since I've heard one, so that's a good thing.
I'm very, very glad that that's a good thing, because when that story starts hitting the news, that means the push is on yet again.
Yeah, and and we talked about shotguns a couple weeks ago that had a tendency to have negligent or accidental or just bad design, and that was a Kel-Tec shotgun. And I actually saw a video where a gentleman took the Kel-Tec shotgun out of the box and had significant difficulty chambering around from the tubular magazine. Wow, caveat emptor, buyer beware on that, I guess.
Well, I hate to say it, but anybody who spends $1,000 on a Kel-Tec product probably should have their head examined.
Yeah.
Kel-Tec is close to the firearms industry's example of a disposable weapon. Some of their designs are very, very interesting and radical designs. Unfortunately, their production and their quality is poor. Poor to say it at the most generous candy.
Right, and that's one of the issues that the gentleman had with Kel-Tec was that one of the Kel-Tec executives came back out and said that they were not aware of any problems with the design of their shotgun and that it functions as intended.
One of the problems with Kel-Tec shotgun being a bullpup design, which decreases the overall length of it and puts it right at the bare minimum length, I think plus maybe a half inch of the bare minimum overall length, is that there have been people whose supporting hand has come off the salt up and they've discharged and lost that hand.
Right, yeah, and it's pretty graphic. I believe they had an issue with the hand stop coming off and the hand sliding in front of the barrel as the barrel's sending a round out of it. So that's something to consider. Haven't heard anything lately about the semi-auto 1187. Hear a lot of folks still talking that one up. But then again, you got the folks that have like the old New England firearms, the old Ithaca shotgun. Those were plenty good. So keep your eye out for those.
And I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm thinking that since the Freedom Group takeover of the 26 companies, quality has dropped again, and the vintage firearm, even the department store model that was a Marlin or a Remington at one time, say the G.C. Higgins or the Ted Stevens model or the Western Auto model of a popular rifle, which say like the Marlin 336. Those are becoming a bit more desired now, whereas a couple of years ago you could pick them up for $200. Now going for $400.
Yeah, certainly, and I'll tell you what, those can be 40, 50, 60 years old, and they still function as they were intended and designed to do. That's one of the things that quality over time does tend to take a hit when it comes to the profit margin. So if you can pick up something from maybe somebody who's lost a family member and is selling it at an estate sale, that's probably a smart buy.
I think if you can get a hold of a pre-Freedom Group Winchester or Marlin, you're doing well.
Yeah, I would even recommend some of the Savage models.
Yes, I'm not necessarily a big Savage fan. I don't necessarily have anything against them. They've just never made any products that really grab my eye.
Right. Well, Michael, we're getting close to the end here. I want to say thanks for coming on and trucking on through this. Know you're feeling a little under the weather. It's good to be back. We had a 2-week break, kind of unintended consequences of getting old. But I want to say thanks to our listeners out there. I appreciate our listeners out there keeping us in line on chat, and thanks to Jules and UCY TV.
Nick, I'd like to second that. UCY.TV is an innovative platform. Everybody has a chance to have their own voice, and there's a little bit of everything for everybody on there. Man, this hour flew by. Nick, it was good to talk to you. Everybody stick around. There's more great programming on UCY tonight. anti-media radio coming up in an hour. Make sure you stick around for those guys. Everybody, do what the song says. Buy a gun, buy some ammo, get good with it, and keep that goddamn booger hook off the banks until you're ready to do it.